Thank you so much for joining us today. Listen, we are just so excited. We wanted to take some time to just share with you a little bit about Women with Grit. What is the story behind it? How do we get started with it? You know, I've got partner in crime here, Lee Willette.
Hey, what's going on?
And I'm Sherelle Lands, and we're just so excited about this concept called Women with Grit, where we interview just exceptional women within the community and around the world who are doing phenomenal things. So how do we get started with this concept, Lee?
Well, I think ultimately it was a reaction to COVID. We were literally working on a different concept that involved women and really helping women have the opportunities to progress in their careers, and we're really putting something together to do that. And we had all these people lined up to interview and to get information from, and COVID happened. So
that changed life for everyone.
It did, and so for us, we were talking one day, and so we were talking about what we're doing, and I said, I'm thinking about doing this podcast, and I'm thinking about doing this, and you said, okay, let's do it. And so Women with Grit came like
there it is. Big on execution, we make it happen.
Yes, so it's been exciting.
Yes, it has. We've had just phenomenal guests even over the last year, and looking forward to all that's coming ahead. So how can they reach us?
They can reach us on YouTube, Exceptional Women with Grit. You can subscribe to our page. You can check out our Facebook page, Women with Grit, or you can go to our website, womenwithgrit.com.
That's it.
And the best way to catch us is Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Central Time, when Sherelle and I are live with our guests. And literally, I think the most exciting thing for me is what we talked about. We wanted to have a program that addressed that brought in women from around the world. So that's our globe here. We literally interview people in Bogota, Colombia, over in London, and then all over the United States as well. So that's been exciting. That's one of the benefits of COVID. Everybody's used to this virtual world, and nobody feels like they have to fly in to be live in the studio.
That's right. So hopefully you will join us live or catch the replay, right?
The replays, that's right. We have a bunch of replays, and I mean, if I were you, I would binge listen. People binge watch on Netflix, binge listen and watch Women with Grit. There have been some phenomenal interviews and some phenomenal tips that will help anyone. We have men and women that watch.
That's right.
And I think the tips that you get, the things that you learn from these women that are our guests will help anyone advance their careers, advance their lives, and just really live a full life and a happy life. And I think that's exciting.
Yes, I would agree 100%. So if you're interested, definitely join us, follow us, engage with us, like us, share it, all of those things. And if you know a phenomenal woman or a woman with grit that you would recommend being on the show, be sure that you write us on any one of those forums, and a member of our team will get back to you.
Yeah. And don't forget, if you have a product or service, a company that you want to promote or a cause, give us a shout. We're happy to do that. There is a cost. But it's not much, not yet. So you better get in while it's cheap.
That's right. That's right. Well, thank you. And so far, we'll see you online.
Talk to you later. Peace.
Bye. Well, good evening, everyone. Guess what day of the week it is? It's Tuesday, terrific Tuesday. And guess what? We are on with another amazing guest on Women with Grit. So go grab your favorite beverage of choice. Let your friends and family know that we are on, because guess what? We have another inspiring story to share with you all today, Miss Lauren Lawn. Listen, you guys are in for a fabulous treat. So who's ready for the summer? And you guys know how we like to do it. We like to make sure that we get a lot of engagement going, talk to you. Feel free to talk back to us. We love hearing from you in the chat. You will have an opportunity to connect with Lauren as well. So feel free to leave your comments, your questions, your concerns, everything that is on your heart for her in the chat, and we'll be sure to get with them. But before we even go further, you know how we do it. We love to hear from you. What city, state, and country are you joining in from? We've got Texas in the house. That's awesome. Okay, Joanna is hailing up her mama. Okay, we love it. Yes, make sure that you leave lots of love for Lauren in the chat function. Again, feel free to grab your favorite beverage of choice and go ahead and grab a seat on the chair As you will see, it is just me holding it down today. Lee is off being great, as we always know. And, of course, what we do is we support families. So we're going to go ahead and send our support his way. But guess what? You guys are in great hands, because we're going to have fun tonight talking with Lauren, who is another first. When I tell you, you all are in for an amazing, amazing treat. I'm going to go ahead and share a little bit about Lauren, but feel free to, again, drop your city, state where you're joining in from. We've got Texas in the house. Hey, Texas. And definitely thank you so much for joining in. We've got South Korea again back online. Thank you so much, Justin, for your consistent support out that way. We've got Joanna, we've got Marissa, we've got James, we've got a couple of Facebook users as well. So if you want to leave your name in the chat function so we know who you are, we can properly acknowledge you. We definitely appreciate it. So major thank you there. Okay, so let me let you guys in on our guest tonight. She is definitely a superstar, okay? So Lauren MJ Lott is a vice president and private client advisor with Bank of America Private Bank in Nashville, Tennessee. Working in concert with a team of locally based specialists, Lauren leads an experienced team of financial professionals that serve high net worth families, private foundations, nonprofit institutions, entrepreneurs, and business owners throughout the United States. She offers a highly personalized approach, providing her clients with comprehensive solutions spanning multiple disciplines of wealth preservation and legacy planning, including trust services, custom credit, philanthropy, portfolio management, private banking, and business executive services. A tenured advisor, Lauren spends significant time discerning the needs and priorities of her clients at the onset of the relationship and throughout the continual dialogue of it. After understanding the unique aspirations of each client, Lauren is able to administer consistent, coordinated, and cohesive offerings that are carefully and diligently implemented. Prior to joining Bank of America Private Bank, or formerly known as U.S. Trust, Lauren served in various capacities with Merrill Lynch Wealth Management and Bank of America's Consumer Investments. These roles spanned across leadership, international exchange operations, client consultation, and providing retirement solutions for business ranging in sizes. As a Valiant Award winner, Lauren demonstrates her passion with her community involvement. She is a graduate of the Young Leaders Council. She is an active member of Nashville's The Table. And if you haven't heard about it, you definitely want to look it up. Lauren currently serves on the National Association of African American Financial Advisors and is part of the inaugural cabinet for Bank of America's Black Professional Group for the Tennessee chapter. As a graduate of Bank of America's Nashville Leaders, Lauren continues to advocate for diversity and inclusion by serving Bank of America's Lead for Women, Power of 10, OLA, and Military Support Assistance Group. A military brat, Lauren and her husband, Carrie, live in Franklin, Tennessee with their 4-year-old daughter, Genesis. Today, they enjoy traveling, participating in sporting events, concerts, legislation reform efforts, and spending time with family and friends. Guys, help me introduce and welcome to the stage Lauren Lott. Hi, Lauren. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. How are you, Sherelle?
Fantastic. Thank you so much. I am digging the hair. I love it.
Oh, it's hot outside. So.
Yes. Hence the braids. Yes, ma'am.
Right. It's hot outside. So it comes out. There's absolutely no trying to straighten it and manage it and keep it in its in a straight state. So here it is in its full garb. So
I love it. I absolutely love it. I'm gonna come back to that because I've got a question for you as well. From my days of rocking my fro in corporate, but
sure.
We'll get to it. So Thank you so much for being on the show, Lauren. And how's your summer?
Well, it's been intense. It's always intense. And before we get started, if you don't mind, I really want to say thank you. For any of the watchers that are listening in. I happen to be, outside of a private client advisor, I happen to be a top fan of Women with Grit because it has been so inspirational to me and has helped me so much dynamically through some of the transitions that I've made. And so to go from a complete avid fan to now being on the show is incredibly humbling. So thank you for your
Aw.
efforts. Thank Lee for his efforts, and everyone
Yes.
that it takes to put this together.
Thank you. And I send thanks on behalf of Lee as well. You know, we just really want to shine a light on amazing women such as yourself that are doing phenomenal things for that. So we thank you for that feedback, you know, and just letting us know that what we're doing is continuing to add value. So we appreciate it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you. Okay, so Lauren, let's dig in to you and your story. And for those of you who listen, I always love to start off the show by literally learning more about our guests. So tell us your unique story of grit, Lauren.
Well, to start, if I really wanted to start about my professional career, I moved to Nashville in 2008, in December of 2008. And honestly, I just needed a job. I really just needed a job. I was new to the area, didn't know very much about it. I attended an awesome church, and my aspirations was I was going to go and work at what is that place called? Wild Horse, or not Wild Horse?
Wild Horse Saloon.
No, it's not Wild Horse.
Is
It's
that
another
one?
one. Anyway, it was a bar of sorts, and my church leader said, "Why don't we not do that?
Okay.
Why don't we, help you find a job that is going to provide just a bit more stability for you, for your son, etc." So I started working at a bank, and honestly, it was not. I was a bank teller, and I was a horrible bank teller. Anyone that knows me from then, I could not balance a drawer to save my life, but they did have an incentive program of sorts that said if you can find a person with so much in assets and sit this person down with the investment executive, then you'll be providing an incentive. So because of the situation that I was in, I was newly here in Nashville. I was in a marriage at the time where my ex-husband unfortunately suffered severely from mental health issues. And so just being young and being in a situation that was tumultuous, and I had to come up with additional assets, with additional funding. So the incentive that paid me the most at the time was the investment piece. And so I started sitting in with the investment executive and became enamored with what he was doing, enamored with and again, I look back at it now. It's so funny. I look back at it now and realize that what he was doing was really just helping people structure what their finances needed to look like going forward and helping them achieve their goals, really.
Yeah.
And so I felt like I was allowed to do really well at that. And I was able to pilot a licensed banker program there. Did really well there. And then from then in 2012, I'd had a lot of dialogue with Merrill Lynch Wealth Management and transition. And I've been with Bank of America Merrill since then. So the majority of my adult life, all of my adult life, has been spent in the financial industry service.
Fantastic. And let's double click on that because, okay, so in my background is in STEM, right? And as it relates to just being women in the specific field as it relates to science, technology, math, in your case, they're usually few. So what led you to going into a predominantly male-dominated field such as finance?
Well, honestly, it was survival.
Survival.
It was survival. When I first started, it was merely, like I said, just being a teller in a brand new area in a new state. My family wasn't here. The only family that I had was my church, and it really was solely about survival.
Yeah.
Now, as I continue to learn more and be exposed to more, I started noticing a lot of the chasms that lie within the United States and certain communities. And the two largest chasms that actually implement change and impact our daily lives happened to be that of legislation and wealth.
Okay.
Well, I was already in the wealth industry. I was already in the financial services industry. So that's something that I can continue to pursue and learn more about. And so that's what I did. So that's how I got here, how I'm still here, how I'm still loving it, and prayerfully how I'll continue to be here.
I love that. And the fact that you mentioned two of those specific areas, which oftentimes feel taboo. They're not, but they feel taboo, especially like you said, to certain demographic spaces, legislation, and wealth. Now, tell me a little bit about, like, when we think about your journey and how you got here, who are the people who cheerleaded your success? Who are the people that have inspired you most along the way?
There are several people. I mean, there's a litany of people. There's a long laundry list of people. I would have to go back and start with the person he encouraged me to go into the financial services industry. Now, I don't know that he knew at the time what it would yield and what would come of it. I didn't know what it would yield and what would come of it, but it would start with him. Otherwise, I have to say those people that are currently in the industry that are doing it, and my current boss. I think about Kathy Bender, think about Marcus Henderson, I think about Lee Millette. I think about some of these people that have been here and been in this realm. It may not be the exact same, but in the realm, period. That's who's encouraged me the most. And right now, I have the very fortunate opportunity of working for Tiffany Eubank Saunders, who has completely changed how I view myself, how I view this industry, how I view my position in the industry, things that are attainable. So I'm very fortunate in that regard, because my current employer and my current boss has been dynamically inspirational to me. And like I said, all the women that are on the Women with Grit.
Yes. I mean, just some phenomenal guests. And I always find it interesting that, the women such as yourself that we bring on the show are always pillars that stand upon the arms, legs, the body parts, the foundational pillars of other people, whether it's their cheerleading tribe or people who support them directly, people who have been able to sponsor them, a community like you talked about, your church. And it's this aspect of not being an island of one, but recognizing that, hey, in order to get to where we are, oftentimes it comes with the aspect of community and being able to establish and build a community regardless of where you are. I want to talk a little bit more about your transition. And you talked about, being in this, the space where you needed to transition and finding your way. What was it like for you as you think through the aspect of finding your way? And when you found your way into Nashville? So I've got this. So if you see me doing that, that's just this little bug.
You're fine. I'll tell you that in two regards, if I may.
Absolutely.
So the first, finding my way, here in Nashville in general, was totally because of the church that I belong to. Period, hands down. When I say the humble beginnings that I had, and when I say that there was a means and a need for survival, my faith plays an incredible part in that. And having the ability to have answered prayers. And I mean, no one can take that away from you. So there's a confidence that comes with that, and it helps you navigate life in general. When it comes to navigating my career, there have definitely been several transitions, but here most recently, I feel like the transition that I've made from the common retail space to the high net worth space and the ultra high net worth space, that came with a lot of humility, a lot of imposter syndrome, a lot of, am I going to be able to do this? Can I do this? Do I have the resources or the acumen to do this? And it's simply because there are just not very many of us in this space. When I look at the state of Tennessee, when I look at the greater United States, even, the the number of women,
Mhm.
further the number of minority women,
Mhm.
further the number of Black women
Yeah.
in this space, it's incredibly limited.
Mhm.
Now, it's not something that cannot be overcome, right?
Right. Mhm.
I'm here. So it's not
Mhm.
something that cannot be overcome. But if I were to look at that and continue to allow that to limit myself and my own aspirations and my own abilities,
Yeah.
and again, coming back to full circle to why it's so important to have people surrounding you that will tell you the truth about yourself
Yes.
and hold the mirror to you and what your capabilities really are. So,
I like the fact that you said that having people around you who will hold the mirror up to you, show you what your capabilities are, and even in my case, I can think about the mentors or the coaches that would tell me the things that other people thought, but perhaps I didn't want to hear, right? And it was just the ability of owning that truth so that you can truly walk in the fullness of the space that you have been placed in position to. I think about, the fact that as you continue to do that, and as our prior guests will tell you, sometimes it's making sure that you have that community and you have a strong sense of grounding. And in your case, it's faith. In my case, it's been faith too. In my 4 a.m. quiet moments of just,
mhm,
before you go into the day,
mhm.
it's just having that moment and that space of centering for yourself. Now, I have a question for you, which is really a more around, like, as you move into those spaces where you've been the one and only. We've definitely shared that in many aspects. For me, it was similar to you, female, African American woman, young, right? Typically rising to these executive level roles and positions very rapidly and quickly. Did you ever doubt yourself along the way? And if so, how did you get past those doubts?
I absolutely doubted myself
Yeah.
all the time. Um,
Mhm.
I still continue to battle doubts.
Yeah.
Um, I feel like something that I've been taught very well
Hmm.
is how to not be so self focused.
Hmm.
And this is where that faith piece comes in. There are two parts again to answer this question. Um, when you're being self focused, you're thinking about what I can do on my own, right?
Hmm.
And each and every time I've transitioned to the next level or transitioned with a different client or accumulated more or been exposed to more, there's always what can Lauren Ladd do versus what God can do. So that's the first piece of that
Hmm.
is relying on myself versus again relying very heavily on that faith piece that's there.
Hmm.
And I'm very fortunate again, not only I have an awesome church, but I have an awesome husband
Yeah.
who, when I don't have that, he speaks that over me.
Mm.
So there's that piece. And then, you know, just in a very practical sense, the community that I have and seeking out those relationships
Mhm.
where women have executed before and executed flawlessly. Um, I've been very fortunate to have people that will not only mentor me, take time out of their schedules to show me the ropes, show me how to navigate and how to move in certain spaces, but also those that will advocate for me as well.
Mhm.
And I feel like that has probably been one of the most dynamic differences in how I got here. I feel like so many times I've been afforded opportunities um, and have negated them or passed them along because of my own doubt, my own reservation.
Mhm. Mhm.
But when someone in leadership says to you, you can do this, and let me tell you why you can do this, and this person has done it. And not only will they spend that time with you, but then they'll go into those rooms behind closed doors and say, hey, I've seen Lauren work in this capacity. I've seen her work in this capacity. She's been able to do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
Um, she needs this opportunity, and this is the person that you need to hire for this role. So again, to answer your question, twofold. There's always going to be the spiritual side for me as a person, as an individual, that will drive and fuel a lot of what it is that I do on a daily basis. And then there's the practical side of things, and just surrounding yourself and making sure that people are going to pour into you, and that you can deliver.
That's it, right? It's so important to be able to follow through, right?
Mhm.
Because especially like what you're saying, when people raise a hand and give you an opportunity, you owe it to yourself as well as them to continue to knock the door down. So I love that, and I love the fact that you talked heavily about knowing what you're capable of, and in those moments when you can't see it for yourself, having people who have seen it and have evidence of it and who can pray you through it. I think that is, just so inspiring, and it's also very important. And I talked to you a little bit when we first started and said, I love your hair. I remember, when I worked corporate, and I'll be honest, I remember a role very distinctly where I came in and I had an afro, and I wore my afro very big in the space. And it was at a role where I was up in Jersey. And so, and the reason why I bring that up is because, and I know we've come a long way in terms of diversity and inclusion,
Sure.
and the ability to just,
I'm going to plug this in real quick. Excuse me, but continue.
absolutely, when it comes to just being able to share in the aspect of hair. We won't delve into hair too much, although I would love to have a separate conversation to talk about that, right? Because I think that it's a topic that we need to kind of address and talk about, is the aspect of hair in corporate, and why is it important or not important, and really talk about it.
Sure.
But what would you say, as you have continued to evolve and grow, are some of the core attributes to being successful in your role along the way?
Can we address the hair?
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Okay. I'll go ahead. Let me get a little more comfortable here. Let's talk about it.
Well, because there was a point when where I did not wear my hair out, where it was important for me to always keep it straight, where it was important to always, I'm tall. I'm tall and taller than the average person. I'm not a small person by any means. And so I'm naturally, and I've heard it, I can't tell you how many times people have told me, without knowing me, that I just have a presence, or that I can be intimidating. And so when you throw my hair in a puff, the way that it is, and a lot of people are not accustomed to that, then that can also be intimidating. But what I will tell you is that I wish that I had done it sooner. I wish that I had come into my own sooner. I wish that I had exhibited the sort of irreverence and authenticity within myself sooner, because I feel like I would not have been as limited. I really believe that. I really believe that if I had, just been myself, and did exactly what I wanted to do with regards to my appearance. Those that will come, will come.
Yeah.
Those that will not, will not. That does not need to change who I am.
Right.
And then it also helped, truth be told, it just helped having a leader in place and seeing it, and seeing that it was permissible to wear your natural hair.
I started, since we're on the topic, but I started my career in that same aspect, and wearing my fro, and I still do from time to time. If you go back through the clips, when we see the reel that comes through, it changes because for me, it's like hair polish. I don't define my identity based on the follicle that grows from my hair, from my scalp. But from an internal perspective. But to your point, it is so important, not only for the individual to be comfortable, you have to be comfortable in your own skin first, because that you exude that energy of comfort or discomfort, and people feed onto it. And if we exude an aspect of being unsure or uncertainty, then people become unsure or uncertain. It's that whole. I just believe that that's the energy that we exude. I did, and I did a whole social experiment for many, many years in the aspect of hair and wearing hair in different aspects, and um, looking into the responses. That's about as far as I can go with that. But the fact of the matter that you said, which I 100% support, is it's the ability to be our authentic selves, and the ability to show up, and the expectation that as we walk in our authentic selves, the right people will align and the wrong ones won't, and that's okay, because we're being and holding true to ourselves. And so I always talk about being comfortable with the no. Everyone wants to hear yes, but no is equally as important, because if we say yes to everything, then we're saying no to things that may be aligned to us that we haven't delved into. So, okay, believe it or not, we're halfway through.
Oh, wow. All right.
It goes by so fast.
It does go
really,
by
really
fast.
does. So I'm going to give you just a moment to grab some water, grab a drink, and I'll bring you back up in just a second. But one of the things that I want to ask you before we take a break is, and we talked about being the first of in many aspects to your space. Tell me about how being the first in the aspect of finance, banking, or however way you embody it has helped to make either push you, or has in some ways even hindered you in your career. So that'll be the question I ask when we come back in just a moment.
Okay.
Okay, guys. So you guys, we are on with Lauren tonight. And I tell you what, just so excited about this conversation and the ability to be transparent and authentic. And guys, listen, guys and gals, you're not limited. Feel free to leave your comments, your concerns, your thoughts as well. Tell us about your journey. If you're a natural woman, or if you have even dealt with the aspect of hair in corporate America, or even in the business field, leave it there for us so we can talk about it. Feel free to leave your comments for Lauren in the chat function, and we will be sure to address it. Guys, you are tuning into Women with Grit, where we interview phenomenal and inspiring women around the world. They come here with the aspect of sharing their story, their authentic truths about how they got to where they are. And as Lauren has already mentioned, these stories are inspirational ones that you can take home and apply to your respective life as well. So tell us what you've enjoyed most. Feel free to leave some of the comments down there as well. I want to call out some of the people that we have tuning in. We've got a couple of feeds going here. We've got Texas in the room. If you haven't had an opportunity to, feel free to leave it in the chat function. So thank you for tuning in. I think it's Jonah is also in the room. Jonah Jones, Marissa Jones is in the room. We've got James Ebanks. We've got Jacqueline Hughes. Thank you all for tuning in to Women with Grit with Lauren this evening. We've got Maurice, who's also here. We've got a couple of people over on YouTube. Justin, thank you for joining in. Gotta give a quick shout out to Justin. Justin joins in every time. I think it's gotta be about I don't know, midnight where he is or something, but he always joins in. So thank you for your consistency with Women with Grit. We've got Gina on. We've got Jonah from Nashville. So thank you all for tuning in with Lauren this evening. And I tell you what, I'm so glad that she talked a little bit about the aspect of really delving into what hair means in the industry and things of that nature, and having that as well. So some of the things that you guys are saying is that Lauren is a force, and we are proud of her at Bank of America. So thank you so much for that comment, Andrea. We've got some other comments as well. Maurice is engaged with the conversation. Thank you all so much for that as well. Someone who's a Facebook user, your identity isn't shown, but just the aspect of talking about how beautiful she is as an individual. So we're so excited to have Lauren on tonight. And in your role, have you ever been the first in your space? And what has it been like for you as well? So, all right, guys and gals, we're going to bring Lauren back up. And again, you're on with Women with Grit. And again, Lee Moulette couldn't join, but he sends his regards. to you as well. So let's go ahead and bring Lauren back up. And again, feel free to leave your comments, your questions for Lauren in the chat so we can be sure to engage with her tonight. All right, Lauren, welcome back.
Thank you.
All right, so tell us about it, just the aspect and the journey of being the first in many spaces that you have been in.
So, I really, I've been the first in many spaces. And this space, honestly, again, not seeing anyone in this space for a long time. When my boss came to me and said, "Hey, Lauren, I'd like for you to consider this role." She come to me years ago, and I was like, "Absolutely not." And quite frankly, I had a hard time understanding why she was doing it because it was just we have not previously been represented there. And so I definitely had a lot of fear about going into the role, about being in this space. The more I educated myself, however, and especially now after being in the role, I realize its importance. When you are the first, most of the time, and it's so sweet. It's so sweet when you think about little kids, how they have absolutely no inhibitions about anything. When a baby gets up to start walking, they just know they can walk, and it's not until someone tells them otherwise or someone tries to show them otherwise that they maybe doubt themselves about their own abilities. And it's the same thing in this space. Once, when I first came to Nashville, when I first came to the wealth management space, I did not have any inhibitions. I don't know that I even noticed or recognized that I was the first, or that I was the only one, or I didn't recognize that. It was after being hit a few times and after having a few run-ins and then seeing that there was a pattern of this sort of treatment that I became aware of it. And so when the stakes become elevated, and now there's even fewer, when you transition from the retail wealth segment to the private wealth segment, there's even fewer. I definitely had my doubts. But now after being in this space, I'm more encouraged that, one, I have children. And so the space, when they're my age or when they get to the workforce, they will not experience the same thing because the climate will have changed. So that's one. Primarily, we are needed in this space. Women will be the holders, in about 2030, they'll have a good portion of the entire world's wealth. $30 trillion will be managed and maintained. Women will be the decision makers of that. Black American women are the fastest growing group of women when it comes to their wealth and what they will have accumulated at that time. So it's important that we're represented in this space, and it's important that we're here. Thirdly, I would also say what is probably more encouraging is that while I know that I'm the first in this space, what I feel more is that I don't come from wealth. That's the biggest difference, is that I don't come from money. My parents both worked. They're great parents. I love them to death. If they're watching, good job, parents. But my dad was in the Army and my mom worked in the medical field. And I did not come from wealth. So, and I say that because it's important, and it goes back to that first thing that I stated, is that the differences that exist in communities go back to that wealth piece, that wealth and the legislation. I doubt I have the ability, or what has impacted me most in this role has not been that I'm a Black woman. It's been that I don't come from money. So the more that we continue to educate people how to manage the assets that they've acquired, how do we ensure that we retain the assets that we acquired? How do we ensure that how do we know that we can play the same game as the communities that have been fortunate enough to receive those funds or been incumbent of those funds. In order for us to close that chasm, in order for us to be parallel, there has to be education provided. And I have the ability to do that. I'm very excited and very passionate about being able to serve in that capacity.
I love that. Let's stay right there. What would you say? Because when you're hitting on something that's so important, the aspect that, we can talk about African American women, acquiring wealth, the amount of people who are acquiring wealth are in record numbers, right? In terms of when we look from a historical perspective, but you're right, the educational piece perhaps is a gap that is there. What is one piece of advice that you would give to someone who is, like you, who did not come from wealth, but is rapidly acquiring wealth?
The one piece of advice?
At least
outside
one.
of call me.
You can say it. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. Call Lauren. Yes.
Outside of call me, I would say it is worth having someone help you with your finances. It's absolutely worth it. If and most people that are coming into those assets, they've been successful at something else. Entrepreneurs and business owners primarily, and this, they're married to their job. They're married to that's their first love. And so they may not have the ability, the acumen, the know-how. They don't know how to manage these things and how to retain the assets they have, make them grow, etc. They may not have the slightest clue about wealth management, and that's okay because there are other people that do. And so I would say if you're in that space and you're growing, you're accumulating more than what you have before historically, it's imperative that you have someone that knows the space, that knows what they're doing, and can help you with that.
Fantastic. Shameless plug. And how can they get in contact with you, Lauren?
Well, you can find me thanks to you and having to update my LinkedIn. You can reach me on LinkedIn or on my Bank of America. You can find me there. So
fantastic. Okay. So question for you. And by the way, Lee, thanks for joining in. Lee's in the chat function. So again, he said he wished he could have made it today, but hold it down and spinning in the big chair for you, Lee. So definitely there. Okay. So you've got a question from Lauren. She says, looking over the last 5 years in your career, what would you say you wished you would have done differently? And how has your new career shaped the way of your thinking for the future?
I would say in the last 5 years, I would have taken opportunities that came to me sooner. So in the last 5 years, there have been, I was presented with this opportunity several times, and I didn't take them. I didn't take the opportunities that I had. I think that, and this is, I feel like unique to women, where our counterparts never doubt. And what I've seen, and this is after being in the industry for 15, 16 years now, what I've seen is our counterparts, they never doubt themselves. They don't think to themselves, oh, well, I don't have the education. Oh, or I don't have the time. Oh, I don't have that. They never think that. They say, yes, I can do it and I will do it. Yes, I can. They don't even think about what they don't have. They think about and they focus on what they can do. Yeah. And so I feel like if I had, in the past 5 years, if I had focused more on what my strengths are and what I can do, I would have had the confidence to take these opportunities that have been afforded to me sooner. So the way I think about the future, that's what I think. I think about, I have the unique ability to help people. And I mean this, I genuinely mean this. Have you ever been to the Biltmore in Asheville? Okay. So I hope that you can understand this. When I went to the Biltmore, my daughter's name is Genesis. And it's very, very important to me. And I think about this with my children, about the legacy that I'm going to leave them. Hence her name being Genesis. She's going to have the ability to do things
Love it.
differently, receive things differently. Her world will be different because I will be intentional about that.
Mhm.
And in my current role, I get to help people do the same thing. I get to help people make conscious decisions about the legacies that they're going to leave for their families. So going forward in my current role, what I've learned is that the decisions that I make, both now and futuristically, will be because of how it will impact the legacy that I'll be leaving. And I feel like this role has shown that to me um, so much more than what I've ever seen before.
I love that. And when you said the aspect of leaving legacy, what comes to mind is a quote that I love, and I don't know who wrote it, but which is just the simple aspect that we do not inherit the world from our ancestors. We borrow it from our children.
Mhm.
And it's the notion, like you said, of paying it forward. It's the aspect of feeding or building into the next generation.
Absolutely.
So I love that. Feel free, and you guys, please feel free to leave your questions for Lauren, because I'm going to keep going. I got a whole bunch more that I would love to ask and learn more about. So when you think about being a leader in corporate America, and as you look across the landscape in your experience, what do you feel is missing, and what do you feel or how do you feel you play a key role in solving that, whatever that is?
I think, and here's another shameless plug, okay? I will say that that the landscape is changing.
Mhm.
And I'm saying that even within the past 10 years, within the past 5 years,
Yeah.
the landscape is changing dynamically. When I think about, I mentioned Kathy Bender previously, when I think about her story and some of the things that she went through as an advisor, the first, the only one, and what I've had to go through, they pale in comparison. They pale in comparison. But I've still had opportunities to overcome.
Yeah.
When I think about someone else that's come in, if someone is employed right now currently, the landscape looks dynamically different than what it does even 5 years ago, even 3 years ago. So to answer your question, you said, how can it change? I genuinely feel like it is changing for the better. I really believe that. I believe that the landscape is changing. I believe that with the more exposure, more education, the demographics of our country is changing even. And so because of that, there's going to be a lot more opportunity. And the things that are missing, what I encourage other people in my role and other people in different companies, et cetera, is to ensure that they are promoting and developing those diverse candidates that are currently there.
I love. Okay, awesome. In the aspect of diversity and inclusion, do you believe that, and you kind of touched on this a little bit, but I'll still ask it, do you personally believe that whether it be gender discrimination, race discrimination, et cetera, do you believe that it still exists? And if so, is that something that you've experienced along the way?
Absolutely. Yes. Yes, it does exist.
Yeah.
It exists. I've experienced it, but it's not something that can't be overcome.
Yeah.
It's not something that can't be overcome. It is something that's unique. And I do feel, again, plug for the firm that I work for, I do feel that my company has probably been the leader in the diversity efforts. So I do feel, again, I can't echo enough how the landscape is changing, but yes, it has. I've definitely experienced it. I have, my husband works in HR, and I've come home many a nights and told him about some of the things that have happened, some of the experiences or comments that have been made. I'll share one that is probably a bit milder than what I could share, but I'll never forget the very first time I'd been speaking to someone over the phone for weeks, and they were so excited. And they came in and they said, well, I'd like to speak with Lauren. And I said, I'm she. And she looked at me and she said, I don't think so.
Oh, wow. Wow.
And I said, yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
I'm Lauren. So things like that have happened.
Mhm.
Like I said, there's so many stories that I could share. And again, in the same breath, I would say that these are things that could be overcome. You know,
Yeah.
the very
Yeah.
first the very first client that I had with significant assets didn't want to, he never wanted to even speak with me, you know.
Yeah.
But those people that know me know I can talk, and I will continue
Mhm.
to talk, and I will continue to kill them with kindness, so to speak. And when he died, he left me a collection of clocks.
Oh,
So,
that's
yeah.
sweet.
So it could be overcome. They
Right.
exist. They absolutely exist, but they can
Awesome.
absolutely be overcome.
Okay. I want to play a quick game with you. And again, to our viewers, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the chat function. This is just something fun for us to get to know a little bit more about you, Lauren. It's called This or That. I'm just going to ask you which one you prefer. And it's just so we get to know a little bit more about you. And then I'm going to ask you about your husband and the role that men play in supporting women. Okay, really, really
Sure.
fun, quick game. All right,
Okay.
so tell us a little bit more about what do you prefer, and it's the first thing that comes to your mind, so not a whole lot of thought. But sweet or savory,
Savory.
pasta or pizza,
Pasta.
gelato or ice cream,
Gelato.
breakfast or brunch.
Brunch.
That's a hard one. Donut or bagel,
Bagel.
cake or pie,
Cake.
tea or coffee.
Coffee.
Coffee. Oh, I'm a tea drinker. Okay, pop up. Pancake or crepe,
Pancake.
tacos or quesadillas.
And it depends now. That
Okay.
depends. It depends
On,
on who's making them and where
on,
you're coming from. If I'm in
on.
Tennessee, I'll have a taco, but if I'm in Texas, I'm gonna have a quesadilla.
Okay. All right. I like quesos. I don't know. I guess it just depends if I'm going for crunchy or if I'm going for soft. So,
You see that even
uh,
that, but there's the soft taco, right? The soft taco, the corn taco.
that's right. Yeah, that's true. That's true. I have to put Jonah on screen. She says, taco, stop playing, mom. Okay, so tell us, and I know we're winding down on time, but I want to make sure I get this question in, especially in the interest of Lee. So, when it comes to the role that men play in supporting women, what role do you feel that men play, whether it has been in your own career, in your own life, or in women in general?
In my own life, well, I'll start, in the corporate world first. I think that what men recognize is success. So, and that's something that just cannot be refuted. Excellence cannot be refuted. If anything, I think they appreciate it. So as long as you're able to deliver, and as long as you're successful in your role, men recognize that. They recognize that value, and that doesn't matter. I mean, that's on my current team, corporately, executives, everyone. Excellence does not. I mean, everyone loves that. Everyone does. In my personal life, my husband has been so encouraging all the time. All the time. He's so encouraging. He listens to all of my sob stories when I come home and cry. He calms me down when I'm ready to flip tables. When I don't remember that I am a person of faith, he reminds me.
Yeah.
So he's always been very steadfast and always been very encouraging, and things where I feel like he's so confident in himself that I think a lot of things that I get to do in this role, whether it's leaving the state, whether I have to do overnight trips, whatever that looks like, he has been incredibly supportive. I have the utmost confidence that my little girl is taken care of. He knows how to comb her hair, which is, you know, he has been the steadfast rock and the constant that's needed in a very fast-paced, inconsistent world.
That's good. That yin and yang sounds like.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Awesome. Lauren, we are just about out of time. But before I give a recap and before, we talk about the other logistics, what would you say? Are there any nuggets that you would like to leave? And how can our viewers connect and continue to engage with you, hire you for services, any of the above?
LinkedIn is going to be a great way to connect with me. The only nugget that I would leave is to be yourself. And I know that sounds so cliche, um, but if you are yourself, maintain a natural curiosity and the desire to be the best at whatever it is that you're doing, I think that those things will take you very far.
Awesome. And thank you so much, Lauren. This has been so phenomenal and really, really engaging time. Kathy Bender says that she loved this interview. Great job, ladies. Thank you for that comment, Kathy. Want to make sure that we give a little bit of other feedback. RJ says, boss lady status, Grit City. You've got someone who also said, you better ask someone about that lady, Lauren Ladd. That was Joshua Hughes. Andrea says that Lauren is a force, and we are so proud of her at Bank of America. So you've got a lot of love. Be sure to go back and look and thumb through some of the comments of people that are just so excited about who you are and all that you are doing. So we thank you so much for your time and sharing your unique and amazing, inspiring story of grit. So I want to share just a couple of nuggets and key takeaways with you all that I captured throughout the night with our time with Lauren. She said, faith is a foundation, right? And sometimes you have to have a true north for you when it comes to your business, your career, your life in general. Prayer as a pillar and the confidence that comes with it. Transition sometimes comes with humility, and also is the aspect of overcoming the imposter syndrome. Know who you are, find the comfort in walking in that. Have people around you and seek out relationships where you are able to grow and thrive, and people who are comfortable showing you the ropes, and those who are comfortable advocating for you when you are not in the room. The importance of having people around you who truly champion your success. Lauren also talked about the aspect of owning your space and walking with confidence and presence in who you are. Be your authentic self. Be your authentic self and radiate your authentic truth. It is important that we are all represented. So making sure that from a collection of, whether it be regardless of what demographic you fall in, but recognizing that the voice of others and many are important in the room. It is worth having a financial asset. So especially when we look at all of the wealth that is being acquired, and we're in a space now where a lot younger generations are acquiring wealth, it's important to make sure that you have a financial resource so that you can know how to manage your wealth properly. Sometimes it's all about, we're in a space where it is okay to change the narrative. Instead of focusing on the deficit, focus on what you have in your hand, focus on what you have that is presently within you. Help people make conscious decisions about legacy and the legacies that they are leaving. So Lauren talked about how in her role, that is one of the things that she is doing from a purpose perspective, as well as the ability to invest beyond yourself, and the ability to take the skills and the talents that you have and pay them forward into the next generation. I love when she said that excellence cannot be refuted, right? So excellence is not specific to demographic or the aspects or the different characteristics that describe a person, but rather those things that help to define you from within. Be yourself above all, and maintain a natural curiosity to be your best at whatever that is. So when I tell you, thank you so much, Lauren, for your time tonight. It has just been amazing, amazing. And, we thank you so much for your authenticity and for sharing your authentic truth.
Thank you, Sherelle. This has been fun. And Fangirl for life.
Awesome. I love it. Awesome. We'll have to definitely connect offline as well.
Please.
It's been great.
Absolutely. Thank you
So,
again.
absolutely. So thank you all so much for joining in tonight with Women with Grit. And I tell you what, if you're just joining in, guys, you want to go back and hit the replay on this specific episode. Make sure that you share it. And if you have another inspiring woman of grit that you would want to recommend, definitely reach out to us on any one of our pages, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, as well as www.womenwithgrit.com. So on behalf of my partner in crime in these efforts, Lee Moulette, have a fantastic night, and we'll see you next week right here, 6 p.m. Remember the new time on Women with Grit. Thank you all.